capital X, capital Z.
Ooh, it's so hot.
You know,
sexy.
Anything that afterwards you are obliged to say capital X, capital Z, you're gonna have a good time. You know?
Yeah. Especially
Did you get that
my
new
definition
iPhone,
of
capital X, capital Z?
My definition of a good time is Bilbo with a bone gun.
Yeah, mine is the Safdie brothers, good times.
Oh yeah.
No, what is that bad time? That might be
It's
called
good
bad
time.
time. It is good time, okay.
Yeah. Here we are. Here we are once again into your ears.
Make 7 up yours. Frame rate.
Frame rate.
The show where we rate frames.
And this is another Pick the Flick from our friend Dr. Slaphammer.
Bow, 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 bow.
And announcing we're now Shack Jackies.
That's their signature. Yeah, soundboard effect we'll hear every time Doc Slaphammer hits the zoo.
Doc Slap, he gave us the last month's where we discussed Videodrome, and guess what? We're talking eXistenZ, 1999.
And
all
also,
right.
yeah, Cronenberg did many films in between, but this is his next thing that he wrote and directed himself.
Mm-hmm.
So in many ways, a perfect follow-up and next beat in like, what is this artist's deepest fascinations when left to his own fleshy devices? And also one of the very first movies I have concrete memories of seeing in theaters. I would have been 14. My dad was a big Cronenberg fan, for sure. And I remember, everything about going out of our way to go to the small independent theater in Hillcrest, San Diego, and see eXistenZ. I was really looking forward to it. Dad had already explained the effects to me and how creepy it would be. And it held up. I liked it. Abe? I hadn't watched it since childhood. What do you think of eXistenZ?
It holds up. We're going to talk about it, but something of note for me is when I pulled this up, I don't know what. I assumed I had seen this.
And have you not?
I had not. And I think my brain had done the thing where it had rewritten and just assumed I've seen all Cronenbergs, of course.
The Cronenberg brothers.
But I think in my head, somewhere between like Strange Days and like 13th Floor.
Identity with John Cusack.
Because I was like, Jude Law, Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Hired
what is happening? And here we are. So this is my first watch, actually.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Exciting.
Because I remember the big takeaway at the time for elite movie snobs like my father, and then the snobbiness he passed down to me was The Matrix. No, eXistenZ. This was battling The Matrix at the time as the movie with the offer that the world is fake, and who did it better
in 1999.
Right, and we had lots of talks around my household about whether this was cooler or not than Matrix.
And the answer is, of course, The Matrix.
Well, no, the answer is, of course, Dark City. Dark City.
Yeah,
trumps
that's 1998. I don't know. I'm going with Virtuosity, 1995, baby.
Oh, sure.
Or Lawnmower Man. You know we're a fan of Lawnmower Man.
Definitely Lawnmower Man.
Lawnmower Man.
And I want to say, fittingly, or I think just to propel the conversation forward, a reason to watch the movie, even if we end up calling it imperfect, which I suspect we might. Right before this, my partner and I were talking about, who would be in the conversation if you're like, well, and also just the best actor that there is, period. Because I had just seen The Bridges of Madison County for the first time on the plane.
Congratulations.
Back from Germany, cried hard. And I was like, Meryl Streep. And I tenderly touched my hands to cover my mouth because I was so overwhelmed by emotion. Just like my baby Meryl. And Jen was like, really? Which I think is a whole separate conversation. Jen was like, it never occurred to me that Meryl Streep would be in the conversation for best actor ever. I'm like, really? She's famously an answer to that. But anyway, I completely spaced. And then later in the day, watched eXistenZ and shouted to Jen, oh, it's Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Fucking spectacular
career.
And
it's not just because of this movie. But I was reminded again when I think of all that she has given us that it might just quietly be that Jennifer Jason Leigh has had the most impressive acting career ever of anyone.
It's the sheer
So
amount of
good.
range.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
her in this or her in like The Machinist versus
Hudsucker
Hudsucker
Proxy.
Proxy.
Yeah.
And you know how we feel about that. She steals the show in that one.
And Jude Law's good. And
Jude Law's good. Everyone's kind of killing it. Willem Dafoe's in this.
It's one of Willem Dafoe's first creep roles, so it's notable to creep fans for that.
He's got a little Green Goblin weapon. It's pretty great. He's called Gas.
His name's Gas, and he's the
man.
guy in the video game that you buy gas from.
Yeah, which, you know, I guess video
Might
games
tip
had
you
not
off.
developed that hard, you know,
Yeah.
for Cronenberg. I assume he wasn't a huge gamer like Carpenter was.
But he
So.
understands in the same way that Videodrome, see previous episode, was an understanding of an exploration of his thoughts on, you know, there's this new medium in my universe. Medium is like skin, flesh, so we're going to use like growth metaphors. Fine. But what he really is doing, as many people have done before, is their commentaries on his own medium, right? So Videodrome was like how he felt about like schlocky TV and cable channels and shit, and how he thought the idiot box was affecting us. And similarly, eXistenZ seems to be, which certainly holds up nowadays. Like he called his shot, and even though a bunch of the stuff is dated and wrong, where you're like, video games don't work that way, grandpa, his core thing, which is that in the future, computers will make experiences so real that disinformation will become a very serious problem, is spot on. Like, you know,
yeah, he was like, you'll have a digital
now.
avatar that some people will prefer, in the same way that, of course, you know, the
and he's like,
talked about it.
And it's essentially AI generated because she makes this fleshopoid pod that dreams the game. Oh, and of course, even if you strip out, because big twist at the end of this movie, as we keep alluding to, is it's like the Matrix. The whole movie was fake. But even if you follow me now in the nested reality with Transcendence, it's implied that that game works by harvesting all the neuronal impulses of the play group and then like using procedural generation to craft a game out of that. So you're always dreaming with the machine. Like, it's not a scripted game. It's a game that is a happening or an organic event that occurs. And it just reminds me of like, he's basically way before it existed, or he had the lexicon to say it, saying AI generated news clips will one day be a real problem. And he's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, 1984 is also right.
Right.
Here's my thing that I was laughing at is when I realized, and I took a step back and I was like, Cronenberg really with this movie posited the question, if you had like a game or a virtual reality where you could convincingly make anything a reality, what's the first place anyone would go, of course? And that answer is working on the line at a slaughterhouse, as you do.
Well, and meta. He's like
getting in those guts.
Because as soon as the game starts, Jennifer Jason Leigh plays the enigmatic creator of the game for 90% of the movie till it's revealed. It's confusing to talk about for this reason, that everything's fake and she wasn't, but she's based on like a Steve Jobs type.
Everyone in the movie, like Wizard of Oz,
everything's nested within
test.
a play, and there's 2 layers so that they can do the double twist at the end and really fuck with you.
And then it's revealed at the end that they're like, why was the game, because apparently the game can be influenced by the people.
But the guy is like, why was the game so meta? And like a commentary on how the game is poison. Yeah. And then he gets assassinated by Jennifer Jason Leigh. And it's like, oh, because their brains, of course, they were trying not to tip their hand, but they couldn't help but focus on, we're about to assassinate a dude. And it like went into the game.
As I found out, the ending, the only ambiguity really for me, when in my viewing of it, is just at the end, where these assassins they've been indoctrinated and want to kill the game designer they do. And then they turn their gun on another one of the playtesters, and he's like, do you, like, basically poses the question, do you guys still think you're in the game? This is, you know,
it's
like
Barclay at the end of TNG, dude. Program off.
And they just stare blankly, because I think the only thing that Cronenberg would like to add at the end, or how he punctuated, is I think for these people, that is a question. Even if in their mind, their perception is I am an assassin, I have a function, and I feel that I completed my mission. Ultimately, you know, their relationship with reality ain't so hot.
They sacrificed, like they said, to get
will.
close enough to you to assassinate you. We had to get bioports installed, which is, you know, very Matrix-like in this universe. You have to get a weird fleshy Cronenberg port so you can get avatared into the pod that is your game system. And that's symbolic of how they're of a cult. I mean, you might agree with them, but
like Videodrome.
They're of a group that believes we need a sharp, like, people can't handle this. We need reality, and we should kill this guy and cancel this technology. A Butlerian jihad, if you will. So in the game, they perceive it as like a gross, dirty sex hole in your spine that you should be ashamed of yourself for having. And I just think it's interesting. I mean, it's obviously interesting. It's the offer, but I think it works how you can track. As soon as it steps out, you can watch the movie again and track what each person's opinion was on the topic at hand as they were playing the representative reality within the reality. But it does scream at it screams so loud. This plot and this twist is like a house of cards. Like, it would only work if this exact game played out in the mind fuck way. You know what I mean? Like, there would be no mind fuck. This game was like written to make the movie around the game work.
Well, it's like an AI creating a twist, right? It's like,
right, but it's like the AI knew that it was part of an assassination attempt, and like, how sick would it be if I wove that into the game, bro? And it's like, maybe that is what happened. But I think at the end of the day, of course, something that I appreciate about it is that I think in Cronenberg's hands, it's pretty clearly like the ambiguity hardly matters. The statement remains unchanged, which is, once you've breached that experience where multiple characters say, reality feels like a dream now this feels like reality. Fuck, I really thought they'd feel more different, or I'd have some gut feeling, but they don't. They feel the same. And it's like, so once that happens, you'll always wonder, is your real life a dream? Is your base level, right? And that's regardless of how many nestings there are. It doesn't matter. Like, you can never go back from that.
There's a similarity as well, as you mentioned, like Videodrome and, you know, what he left to his own devices. Both movies kind of literally have a protagonist that's thrown into a kind of a turf war that's in progress and has a complex and like confusing history that the main character is initially completely unaware of, and they fall victim essentially to double agents. We see this in Total Recall as well, which deals with reality. Revolutionaries who only care about their own cause. And I think this is very Gen X, right? Cronenberg will always hate both sides and always seem to resolve that the only virtuous path is to not to fall to victim of any philosophy.
To be alienated from society. And like me, David
which
Cronenberg.
is kind of an ideal scenario, like, to be able to do that. I think the more recent cultural relevancy would probably be, what if you can't even opt out of the society?
What if society's like, no, you don't get to opt out. We want our taxes and shit. Yeah.
Because he's making a plea for free will. He's like, I should be able to control my identity. It seems like kitten paws a little bit now, just because it's like, what if we already had the destruction of any useful free will? Even if you had free will, what if it didn't matter? But that's, you know, getting in.
God, the artist, the mechanic. Funny. It's a good line. Willem Dafoe moment in this.
I like that Gas is a believer. Like, he talks about how Geller has like liberated him. And he quotes games like scripture. He bows at her feet when he realizes who she is. And it reminds me of like Tech Bros, you know, complete faith in the tech, true believer. And then the reveal is,
but we would eat you alive. We don't give a shit. It's all fun.
Yeah, the true believer is actually faking it. He's just,
not loyalty.
Money is still his god, you know?
Right. And an amazing, just in terms of Cronenberg's actual skill as a filmmaker, making meat and potatoes movie with action and drama and shit. Such a sick line right before you try to kill someone. But you said she changed your life. I'm about to change hers. I like your script, ma'am. I'd like to be in it. And he shoots
I
at her.
like your script, man.
That's such a fucking cool line from a
That's
fucking
a pretty
crazy
cool
guy.
line. I missed
Yeah,
that one.
I'd
Yeah,
like to
that's
be in
good.
it.
What about?
Boom from paralyzed guy with a pod puncher thingy.
Let's talk about the womb of it all.
All right, let's play that sound up.
Yep.
Boom.
Yuga.
Your hole is
This-
excited. It wants
look.
action.
Okay, so the slave
Okay.
pods, like the thing that eXistenZ is in the pod, is like an external uterus. It's live and writhing when you plug it in. Has
You
an
attach to
umbilical
the
cord.
umbilical cords. Jennifer Jason Leigh was told to and did keep it with her all the time and treat it like pretend that's your baby.
She treats it
Pretend your baby
hugs
was
it.
born, but it's still connected to you. You got to protect it. That's your baby.
right, and tech is almost always in a Cronenberg way, biologically, arguably, a bastardization. Right, like there's
Or
something wrong.
sexualization, which
Yeah.
I think is very funny that in this, one of the games you can play in the background, just a box on a shelf in the game store, is just called Hit by a Car.
by a car
Crash,
is a really
dude.
good joke.
That's Crash.
That's Crash.
Yeah.
But it's another franchise that it's akin to, obviously, is the Alien franchise. We both have that theme of unnatural or artificial tampering of biology, usually at corporate motives, right? It's always companies that are doing this awful shit, and both kind of exhibit an unknowable horror that we bring upon ourselves. So it's kind of cool that all this stuff is being talked about at this time. And I think that is like, I don't know, that is like a Gen X thing. That was my takeaway. I was like, how thoroughly this is
Capital
Gen X. And, you know, because you look at all these films in the 90s, especially with Matrix and 13th Floor and Dark City, as you mentioned. Even I think I mentioned Total Recall. It's all dealing with
Fight
like,
Club.
Yeah.
Completely different plot mechanics, but we were obsessed
Totally.
at this time with screaming
disembodied.
in a specific tone too, in an edgy masculine tone, screaming, "You idiot! None of this shit's even real, dude!"
Yeah,
like we were
dude.
obsessed with that vibe and that message
Which is
delivered in
I mean,
that
it's because
tone.
we're at the advent
Because
of
our
the
lives
computer.
felt that way. Yeah.
It really felt like you could log in. All these things, virtual reality was being developed. Like it felt like we had a possibility of a digital avatar, which we ended up,
Second
really
life.
having it, and you'd have a second life. I
Her
think
name's
it's kinda-
Allegra Spring Rebirth.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's kind of interesting because like the other thing that Gen X does is it's this like buy-in system. Like look at all these NPCs, all these normies. You know, like I think Cronenberg sees society as a kind of opt-in system where like most of his films are about people on the fringes, right? They're on the run and capable of like being compatible with the current infrastructure.
Or they have a
And-
peek behind reality and it opens their mind to a completely
Right.
different direction they never would have thought of yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, and the protagonist usually finds out that whether it's a lie or not, it does seem to appear that like life is more or less a multi-level marketing scheme where you kind of opt in or buy into the system. And then you
They
are now
live.
its foot
Yeah,
soldier, right? You are now
We're all-
anyone or anything that
we're all
threatens
sheeps.
it is dangerous, right?
Yeah.
And that's a very Gen X kind of observation, is that like they have where are the batteries, and they laugh at him like, you sweet summer child. Jude Law doesn't understand most things about the tech.
I gotta say the hardest thing to buy, although in retrospect at the end it makes perfect sense because he's avoided learning a lot about the tech because he's actually part of that cult. But the whole time you're like, how'd you get this fucking job, bro? You don't even know how. It's like I literally, as I record this, I just returned from working a job for Xbox Microsoft. And it's like if I had shown up and been like, what's this black box in the corner? And everyone's like, that's an Xbox. Like, are you okay?
Are you okay?
Who hired this guy? Because he's a high up marketing executive, but so that she can explain things to the audience, he doesn't know shit about the game at all. Which, by the way, it must be said, Cronenberg imagined these games, speaking of NPCs, as very compulsory and linear. Like the game's basically
on rails.
Just on rails, and it pauses and starts whenever you want. All you can essentially do is let it take over your body and puppet you, and you say and do things that make a plot unfold, or you can like shudder against the machinery and pause so you can quickly talk to
Right.
your playmates as yourself. But it's almost like playing D&D. Like you can pause and talk, but you're just kind of going along.
Yeah, I think that may not be exactly, he's calling a shot there, and I think that comes from like, we will only
He's
have
more
a
comfortable with
series.
movies than games.
Yeah, we only have a series. Yeah, he's coming from that perspective, and like, we only have truly a few stories that we tell or want to be told to us. And I think he's playing with that, or he's just like, oh, okay. So we would get tired of it eventually too, because it's not real, it's not chaos, it's control, and you have no free will when you're, even in your choose your own adventure game,
Yeah.
like
Well,
that's not free will.
but
That's
this would
just
be the
slightly adjusted.
equivalent because they do treat it like an Xbox launch. They're like, we've spent $40 million on this. They've never copied it, which is crazy. But setting that aside, um, it's so funny to think this would be like if they launched the PlayStation 6 with Resident Evil 7. It's just like this would not be a launch title. It's so challenging and frustrating and disgusting.
Oh, I
Um,
thought it was like it tailors itself to the people who are involved in the
and then
pod.
I'm saying that's what I actually think is a great thing about this movie is a ton of things I would count as plot holes actually make perfect sense given the final layer. Like if you accept that as true, meaning that would be weird, except that at the very end of the movie, the guy rips his helmet off and he does go. Why was the game that? It was some freaky Cronenberg shit. Someone here is some kind of freak. Like
Yeah.
it all weaves together in a way where you're like, that is what would happen.
I do like Christopher Eccleston and Willem Dafoe have a moment when they pop out. It was like, sucked for us, right? Yeah, we died within literally 2 minutes.
And he's like, probably because we disturb everyone. Yeah, we both come off as really creepy guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll probably be our career niche. Yeah.
Good game, though. Good game.
Good game, yeah.
Like, they love it. But you can see the kind of, like, that's like, it's a cult, right? It's like an Apple cult or something like that. Even if the product is shitty or they don't see the wisdom of like, okay, we're rolling out this new product. There's just like, but they did the iPod, they did the iPhone. That must mean they're great.
Mm-hmm.
You get that vibe where they're just sucking this game designer's dick.
Yeah.
Oh, we haven't talked about how hot this movie is.
It's really horny and hot. It's really pervy in a way that Videodrome also was a bit, but other Cronenberg stuff, like that's interesting. When other people write for Cronenberg, like The Fly, has some sexually charged stuff, but it's between the humans when they're human. The Fly never makes Goldblum as the Fly. The camera never thinks he's horny. Like the camera never thinks the Fly is hot.
Right.
The camera thinks the Fly is disgusting. In this, I think a thing we miss a lot, unless actual dad David Cronenberg is behind the wheel, is he thinks the flesh is hot too. He wants to put his dick in the puddle of flesh.
Into the back slot.
And this has that. Yeah. Your hole is excited is pretty on the fucking nose. Your hole is excited. It wants action.
Jennifer Jason Leigh at one point, who plays Geller, says, "You blew my pod. I jacked you into my pod, and you obviously panicked."
Yeah.
It's totally fucked. Yeah, there's a lot of hot stuff in this. They lick the hole at one point, and he's just like, which I thought was funny because initially I was like, wait, is Jude Law a freak? And it's like, because he licks her pod when he's inspecting it, and she goes, "What the fuck?" And he goes like, "Oh, my character wanted to do that."
I think that's an amazing offer. Is one sweet. It actually, like I said, it's kind of weak in the sense that I feel like game design is not. It would be weird if I played a game that was abstract and Lynchian and on the rails. I would be like, "What was that game?" But given that they established that mechanic, they draw deep philosophical attention to in a way that is chilling and reminded me of like a scene in Coherence. I'm sure people remember if they've seen
like
that.
I don't have control.
That
of my
same
devices.
feeling where she does something crazy or he does something crazy. It happens a couple times, and they go, "That was my character doing that. That was one of those scripted events." And you are like, "Was it?" And you'll never know. And you realize with dawning comprehension. And in fact, at one point, someone says, "Do you see? Do you understand the problem?" And what she's saying is, this is what we're fighting against. this feeling of, well, now is anything real, right?
Right.
And he really is adept at carrying that thread through, I would say, by sacrificing traditional narrative pace. Because the downside to this movie is that if you follow the plot up until it is revealed to all be a game, it's just like a sequence of scenes. Like there's no through. It's go here, this happens. Go here, this happens. Go
Yeah,
here,
it
this
just feels
happens.
like meandering,
Yeah.
like a Grand Theft Auto, but like sometimes you're on a mission, sometimes you're just chilling. Um,
But
which
it's
I think is kind
secretly
of
him
intentional.
setting up the chess pieces to do the final reveal. And
Yeah,
in retrospect, you can see that. You go, oh, I see. You needed to set up the final reveal. Okay, okay, fair
right,
enough.
right, right. Plus, I also think that there's like the sexuality of all of it. Jennifer Jason Leigh said like it took her a while to figure out the character, or it wasn't working for a while, and then she was like, "I know what I have to do. I have to play it as a woman," which is probably why you get that maternal instinct and stuff like that kind of shining through. There's something that was crazy to me is that also, I think it's intentional, but feel free to push back. There is an addiction arc, right? She is portrayed as kind of an
She's an
addict.
addict of the thing, yeah.
You can, whenever she's just coming out of the
They
game,
use
it's
language that
blissful.
implies drug, yeah.
Like she touches herself,
But
like
they use
it's
withdrawal language intentionally when she's pissed about it.
yeah, and like everything's happening in hotels rooms, very flirtatious, sorry. And yeah, it's just, even the exposition is like, it's, I mean, they're both hot humans and it's a movie, so there's gonna be like fuck me eyes sometimes, but I
And
feel
then
like
the
both of
final
these
reveal
actors are
is
good.
they're a couple. So it's like
Yeah,
fine. Or like
ultimately,
you're like that makes even more
as
sense.
it's revealed.
But also something that Cronenberg achieves in this movie that I think very few directors operate at this level. Not that it's hard, but again, people just don't care to, and it's the kind of craftsmanship I fucking love in imagism. Is Cronenberg clearly decided and told everyone working at every level of the project that this movie is all about touch, the sense of touch,
Mm-hmm.
over taste, smell. It's like a writer sitting down to write a book and deciding, I will only use smell adjectives. That has a specific effect on the reader, right? And on the theme. And I just find it so fascinating. It's super unlocked for me. If you watch it with the through the lens of like take a shot every time he hearkens to the idea of, but it just doesn't feel right. But the texture is wrong. The intro sequence, credit sequence, is literally just a study in different textures, slowly interweaving, like a game designer might go through a set of palettes to choose the textures on the surface of their game, like maps. It
Right.
like everything in the thing is tactile and feel based, and I just thought that was so cool. Down to the script level, all adjectives are about touch, not smell or hearing.
A lot of camera inserts of just like hands on the backs of chairs and
Well,
stuff.
right, like Jude Law will be surprised. And in this movie, rather than cutting to his face gasping, you hear him gasp, but you cut to his hand grabbing a chair tightly because the director just constantly wants you thinking about, does it feel real? Does it feel real? Just
Yeah.
because that's his question. And that's the way he's
Right.
decided to phrase it, is through the sense of touch specifically.
Because when it becomes convincing, that's like our last line of defense of like perception of reality. Granted,
Is
because our
like you
eyes can
reach
be
out and touch
fooled.
someone, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like all of our senses can be fooled equally, and it's kind of like I think it's presumptive of the organism to say like touch is like the main one, but he has to pick one, and it's a
He's
very
using that one to
visual one.
metaphorically be, that's where the buck stops, as you reach out and touch it. Is it
Yeah.
real? Yeah.
I cannot trust my eyes, I cannot trust my ears or my nose, but for some reason I have to trust my hands and body. And that's a lot of what he talks about this in almost like Scanners, like even the new ones. At one point, Jude Law, which by the way, that sex scene kind of ends with him pumping the brakes and saying, "No, I don't want to do this. I'm very uncomfortable with like how I can't like parse reality right now. I want to eject. I want to de-incept myself a level." And they do. And he says the line, "I'm very worried about my body." To which, in a heroin stupor, Jennifer Jason Leigh responds, "You're what?"
Yeah, I
Because she
love
doesn't
that,
care
dude.
or think about the body. She's post body. She finds reality boring. I'm very worried about my body. You're what? She doesn't care or think about it. It's like,
And he just means like we left them unattended in the material plane where people are chasing us. So couldn't someone find our bodies and slit our throats? And she's like, oh yeah, they won't though.
Even the imagery of the idea of gas, right? In order to make this thing, like the body has no relevance. It's talked like it's disposable. The mind is important. You can treat your body like a mechanic can treat a car, you know? Like,
right.
And so you get this disassociation of body and soul and a kind of a preference. Or like if you are a foot soldier in the, you know, it's now a war and you have to opt into one of these systems. You're either a body guy or you're a soul guy, you know?
And the transitions through non-linear time and space that seem quote unquote to not make sense are actually tactile if you watch the grammar of the shots. So like the big one I noticed is he grabs her breast in the hotel. That's when we transition to now he works at a mutant amphibian factory and his hand is gently grasping the big bulbous throat of a dead amphibian. And the shot is obviously supposed to be like, that feels like a titty. That's why we jumped here. That's all.
Cronenberg,
just
man.
That feels like a titty. So he
Cronenberg and Tim Burton.
Yeah. But it is, again, I think also very cool cosmic horror sci-fi offers that in the future, Xboxes are bioengineered. So like if you go tour an Xbox factory, it's more like an amphibian raising warehouse where they like slaughter these things and take the organs out and tie them together. And now you have an Xbox. That's cool. That's so fucked up and cool.
It's also why they play with the Chinese restaurant. Like, so here, there's something
similar to What Remains of Edith Finch, by the way.
If you can parse it for me, maybe there's nothing there. But the fact that it's like they talk about lunch and that's where the code happens. It's like that's where the revolution happens over lunch. And we get that violent death in the Chinese restaurant. So obviously Cronenberg's playing with the idea of like extreme violence in this space. They are using essentially the byproducts of the thing that they're using for the Xbox. They're using that meat to feed the populace, right? Which is a very, kind of Marxist kind of
opiate of the masses. Yeah,
exactly. And what I thought that was interesting about that is like we also have this bone gun that shoots teeth. And I'm wondering about like does the teeth gun represent consumption of some kind?
Plot point, I think. Well, on the surface level, it is just a very, again, cool Philip K. Dickian, which a lot of these elements are inspired by Dick elements, according to to Cronenberg in certain interviews. But and I'm not surprised, or like I don't know if this is one specifically.
It could just be that would be a cool gun.
But it sounds Dickian, which is like, how do you sneak a gun through customs? It's made of bones and it's inside an animal. So you get the meal, you eat the animal, you connect the bones like Lego pieces, and it shoots teeth.
So it's like using all parts of the animal to take down the digital systems.
Right. But also, of course, necessitates that Jude Law eat this horrible gelatinous prop of like this mutant. It's like in The Simpsons when Mr. Burns has to eat the three-eyed fish, just like something you wouldn't.
It's great.
It's like a Fear Factor challenge before they can get out of this level. I definitely ate
dinner during this and was not expecting that scene. I was like, oh god.
It's an infamous scene. I remember it as the standout memory of this movie. Yeah, like the image that sticks with you. Being both cool and disturbing, and you're like, that's David Cronenberg. That tooth gun in the Chinese restaurant, man. That's Cronenberg. Yeah.
It's the special, baby.
And in that, when he says that and they plug it all together, he says, seems like everything used to be something else. Which also keyed me into like, this is kind of his Annihilation in some ways. It's not as sophisticated, but it is a lot about like everything is everything. Things flow into each other. Things are elements of each other.
Yeah, it's true. I think that's
true.
There's also this feeling though that like, so everything is back alley deals, even though there seems to be like no policed structure about this store that they go in to buy new games. when they actually do the deal, they go in the back to talk about it, so that there's that drug connection already. But more importantly, like, in order to get through the system in the same way of red pill, blue pill, he orders off the menu, which I think is like a
special.
loaded,
Yeah.
He's like, can I get something that's not on the menu?
So in the game, you're spies, but it's never clear. It's like you're Lynchian spies because it's abstract. Who knows what you're spying about or for? But we know you are doing deals, and we know you're illicit.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that that's very Gen X, you know, like just the idea of like, in order to become yourself and find your own identity and find your free will, you have to game or black market the system, because the system will not provide purpose, and it definitely won't provide happiness.
In maybe the sweatiest beat in the whole movie, and now through my adult eyes,
right,
Jude comments on this, the fact that, and that's when I'm like, okay, Cronenberg keeps losing you and then winning you back by going, no, I know that sucks, which is great. I love that technique. For example, without spoiling it too much, playing Doki Doki Literature Club to cover on one-upsmanship, and it has that vibe where you're like, is this all this is? Because in that case, it's boring and sucks. I'm going to quit out. Oh no, the creator knows that that's boring and sucks. That's a building block of an experience that's unfolding. And this has that same thing, because as the Act 1 unfolded and you realize the plot of the game in the game is a guy, an NPC is like, that guy you just killed is a double agent for the other guy, so you have to go back and kill the guy you just saved. And Jude Law goes, but that sucks. That's cyclical storytelling. Who are we spying for? What about? Nothing means.
Like, why would I trust
sucks.
you?
Why would I trust you if I trusted him? People are just blowing into the story and telling me what to do. And he ends up saying, and I'm like, I like it, but it's also pretty on the nose. We're both stumbling around together in this unformed world whose rules are seemingly unknowable or possibly non-existent or inconsistent, always on the verge of being killed by forces we can't possibly understand. And it's like, get it, dig? That's life, dog. Get it, dog? That's life, bro.
Yep.
And I agree with him. And I'm just like, it's a little transparent, but I like that moment anyway.
Yeah, no, I think, that's all, the whole buy-in to the system, right? Because, like, you have to play at one point, Jennifer Jason Leigh says, you have to play the game to find out why you're playing the game, which feels like a dumb line, kind of like what you're saying, but it's actually sneaky, both a statement about this self-fulfilling prophecy of, like, how life is ordered, and also, like, it's true about life. You kind of do have to find purpose just by living.
You discover your life's goal halfway through the process, not at birth. They don't go, you will be a blah, blah guy. Yeah, exactly.
When she says it, you get angry because you're like, look, I'm just looking for answers here.
Tell me what the fucking quest is in this game. Yeah.
Which is the whole point, I think.
Oh, dude, yeah. What did I just watch? Oh, Zero Theorem, which I hope we cover, so I guess I won't dig into it too much. But similar mechanic where he says his whole life he's just waiting for this one phone call. And it's very obvious, it just represents clarity. What if you could have someone say, do this, that's the right thing to do? Because that's so rare in life that you even feel strongly that you know which direction you should go in with utter certainty.
It's a serious man on his roof adjusting an antenna to try to get connection to God.
Connection to God. It's Clint Eastwood standing in the rain outside the diner in Iowa.
Bridges of Madison
saying
County. This
kind of certainty comes but once in a lifetime, and you remember the way his dick rearranged your guts, and your hayseed farmer husband could never.
And that made you cry on a plane.
Oh yeah.
You were weeping in the aisle.
And then I watched Ben-Hur.
That's a weird.
Very weird Christian propaganda.
Also
ultimately.
Weird plane. Weird choices.
Dude, oh yeah, I did The Visitor, which I also hope we cover. I think you should watch it regardless. Richard Jenkins movie about ice. Super. It will make you so angry now. Like,
he's a lonely man and he gets, like, people are living in his house and he, like, lets it happen.
Yeah, and there's Syrian refugees, and then ICE comes and deports them, and it's just about how he's like, I didn't know you yesterday, and today this enrages me so deeply, and it makes me think America's broken. Right.
And now I've met the ghosts of Syrian refugees.
Yeah, but it's good. It's good
but it's good. I have yet to see
because of like this movie.
I watched the trailer.
It does good shots where you're like, that means something. It uses postcards. It does postcards.
But yeah, I don't want to halt the way we went, but like there's something we said back. I want to talk about God, because
then go ahead. Well, I just got to mention the fun fact then that a bunch of this crew are Hungarian, and quite intentionally, eXistenZ with the capital X and the capital Z puts the word Isten, ISTEN, in between those two letters. That's the Hungarian word for God. That's the actual pun title that he was going for.
So it's not just made up bullshit.
But most people wouldn't access that pun because we don't know Hungarian. Yes.
Well, I just assumed it was like, well, in 1999,
X and Z were cool
what's the
letters.
Coolest thing in the world?
No, he
X
was
and
trying
Z.
to do a pun. He was trying to be like literate. Yeah.
No, he's doing a pun. It's not just
it's
Elon
both.
Musk going.
It's both though. He also thought they were cool
both.
letters. Yeah, that's
You're
why
absolutely
they're the big
right.
ones. Yeah.
But speaking of the Gen X.
And of course the famous metaphysical line, "Thou art God." In the game, they referenced that her first big famous game was called Art God.
Yeah, which is pretentious as hell. I love that.
Oh, dude, yeah, dude.
Imagine being like a freshman developer and you're like Art God.
Oh, and her hair has different polygonal textures based on what reality they're in. Did you notice that? I had never noticed that before. Yeah, she has wavy hair in the fake reality and then like straight as an arrow hair in the... You get it? It's all texture.
It's all...
texture
okay, so
based.
It's like pixels. Yeah, I get it.
It's like the polygons are being rendered differently, yeah.
It rhymes. No, I wanted to talk about God because I noticed in this movie, The Matrix, a little bit of 13th Floor, Total Recall, a lot of these 90s movies that talk about this stuff have like a femme fatale or a woman that serves as kind of a femme fatale, but is more of a herald of the rabbit hole, right? Come with me if you want to see reality. Sexy, sexy apples. You know where I'm getting in?
Yes, and in fact, Jennifer Jason Leigh was shot out of Eyes Wide Shut because she chose to do this movie instead, and they conflicted even though she had already shot part of her Eyes Wide Shut role. And she said something about them being like, they're both kind of similar roles actually about. And so I'm just like realizing that's also
Seduction.
one. Well, it's like the secret world is the... So in this case, it's a secret accessible dimension of pixels. That's a secret accessible dimension of rich things. Like you can only be there if you're rich. That's what makes it a separate dimension. But it's still the same shit. This woman is going to guide you into a dangerous netherworld. Yeah,
right. And I think that
what was her obsession?
It just dawned on me in this
hidden worlds. What does that mean about the 90s?
Well,
Teach me.
I think because when they're I think it comes down to Gen X had to first deal with the Avatar situation, right? A second reality of your life is posited to you, and that's a fundamental change on the concept of the organism. So it's completely foreign to us, which makes it like an existential paradox, the idea of having a second life. And the excitement and the vibrancy of the tech age, made it feel normal to Gen X. They were the first generation there where this is normal. And it's why they felt like they had reached a pivotal like evolution in like society, right? Like our past was dead. We now have
digital singularity is around the corner.
Right. But at the same time, like things are burning down. No one's happy. So it feels like there's no future either. So we're just in this liminal space going nowhere, and it's incompatible. And you kind of develop a psychosis, as Jude Law points out at one point, because your free will feels useless and your moral decisions stop existing if reality was just a game. And so when I think of how the organism deals with that, like, what if we had a second life? Well, they have to peer back to what is the only thing we do know. And I think the reason we go to the Adam Eve kind of story is one, it's a fundamental Western creation myth. But I think deep down we all know that the reality of anything kind of that we've experienced begins with
girls
people
are
with
not
wombs,
to be trusted,
right?
Yeah.
You come from a womb. Someone who had a womb had you.
The egg comes first is the answer to that. Yeah.
That's why Alien chose eggs, right?
Yeah.
Or I think that's why.
Well, I'm just saying.
That's my thought.
In the Encyclopedia of Symbols, egg represents origin. Chicken doesn't represent origin symbolically, regardless of the genetic reality,
Even if chicken be fucking.
Even if chicken has eggs inside it, chicken represents cowardice, sustenance. Egg,
so I think in that
egg represent origin.
I don't think that we are, even though Gen X is like, it seems so simple, even the Matrix seems like a simplification in the same way.
Like, just wake up. All you have to do is see that it's fake and you're free.
I don't think modern media is any better. We haven't answered this question, like, because we don't actually know.
Not.
I think it's a forever question.
Is like, if it's your digital, right, or the way I always put it is, or a way it can be put that I find endlessly fascinating to think about a lot, because morality is explicitly a construct, and yet there are things that I value that I cannot shake the core feeling that there is a true rightness to it. And I mean pure things like sunlight or nature or whatever. So like the one that always trips me up is like, in the future, if they can make a pod that just shoots a feeling of contentment and equanimity into my brain glands, and I spend my whole life as an eyeless fish man in a pod, and it's very energy unintensive, is there anything wrong with that? Like, is realness, does it matter? And this movie, of course, is questioning exactly that. Like, does it matter if it's real, if it feels real and it's not hurting anyone? You could always zoom out and go, well, in the alternate reality, you're slaves, so fuck that. But I'm saying, okay, but what about the neutral version where we ourselves invent a pleasure pod and we put ourselves in it and we never see the sun again? Is that bad? Why? Or like, but it feels bad.
It feels bad, I think, because there is some stuff that, I don't know. That's a forever question too, because I think the a priori kind of ethics of what you're pointing out there. Oh,
does authenticity matter in and of itself?
We had this conversation kind of in our Sinners frame rate, right? Where we talk about that final scene and we talk about, he's like, I still am glad to be alive, right? Like, even if it was a vampire, even if this is not real in the same way that
I never see the sun. He said the same thing I just said. Exactly. I never see the sun. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like, I think that there is that anytime we put any kind of barrier between us and reality, we can't help but ask the question, how does that alter us, right? Because perception is reality but yeah, in terms of the, like, what are fundamental things that feel like pillars, like they can't be changed ethically, you convince me otherwise, stuff like murder and, things like that. Even those, I would argue, and I think a lot of philosophers have argued, right? Those are goalposts that have been moved all throughout time as well. So who knows if there's any truth to any of it? I don't know.
But I love from the, can I say some like funny observation stuff?
Yeah, please.
I think from the game player's perspective, it is so funny that in this game, given the few rules that do seem consistent and your goal or whatever, Jennifer Jason Leigh sees a diseased pod and is like, I'm going to pour it into that. And he's like, it looks really sick. And she pours into it. It poisons her immediately and her game character dies. It's like, you thought that was a good idea? That was a very dumb, bad idea.
Because it's an addiction tale.
Right after that, the guy who turns out to be in real life, the game designer, the like bulky looking dude, it's like when the pod gets sick, the line is, I know just what to do. Burn the pod. Burn, you diseased pod. Then it explodes with spores and he goes, ew, bugs. Oh no, not even bugs. Spores, deadly spores. There are like some weirdly weak moments in this script as well that are quite hilarious.
Oh no, the queen, get the flamethrower.
Like the guy just yelling, bugs are coming from the pod. Oh, they're not even bugs. They're spores. Update the script and you're understanding, everyone. We're dealing with deadly spores.
Someone who's reacting at an 11, but you going through the process of like making a correction is one of the funniest things. Wait, no, I was wrong before.
Oh my God. This. The black bear's eating the children. It might actually be a brown bear and the sun is striking it in a way that it looks black, but the children are dead.
Could be wrong.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the 10. Hey, are you the guy with the MRI machines?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Doesn't your dad own a bunch of MRI
machines?
But what is Oh, the best subversion of that in that is, I've got an idea. Yeah? Well, it's for a screenplay. So, and he like starts telling his pitch for a screenplay.
As like the bomb is
and then the guy
down.
goes, wait, we should deal with the MRI machines. Also, as I told Abe on stream last night, but it has to be mentioned for all time, the creepy Cronenberg motel that a lot of this is set in is very clearly the Rosebud Motel from Schitt's Creek, the very charming Rosebud Motel we all love.
So yeah, you can
Same
look for that
set,
if you're a Schitt's Creek fan. One of the ones that I laughed at is when Jude Law does the thing that we've done in every fucking movie, which is someone's about to kill somebody, has them at like the base of the shotgun, and then someone behind them shoots them and
instead, yeah.
So Willem Dafoe gets shot by Jude Law, and Jude Law is like, "Oh God!" and he shoots him right in the neck, and he goes, "Oh God, I think he's dead." Says the man who just shot someone in the neck with the fucking Anton sugar gun.
Yeah.
Like it's insane. So like, because I know what
Jude
they're
Law's
doing.
Very weird in this.
It's the same thing as Neo. They're trying to make him kind of childlike and like so he can soak up.
In retrospect, once again, with the twist, it makes sense. He is a Luddite who hasn't played this game before. So like you're like, oh, I see. You know, and I think that's the saving grace.
No, you're absolutely right. Because it feels like a plot hole throughout the movie.
Where you're like, how are they so bad at this game that she nominally coded herself? Yeah.
It's like because he hates.
It's because they hate it. Yeah. It's because they're not here for this.
Which is they do that in Videodrome, right? It's the double agent who's I forget what his name is, but he's the guy who works with James Woods,
right.
Who's like I've never actually watched it. I've never watched it, even though I made you believe
because you're a sick freak. I actually judge you for it. Yeah,
because you're a sick freak. You believe that I was a sick freak as well. You made that
such
assumption.
a good trap. Yeah,
it's a great trap. Hell yeah.
My Body is a Cage would be a good song for the remake when they remake this. And also just Cronenberg remains a good director. Like, I guess I won't go to the trouble of sharing screen, but I just copied some postcard images where like Jude Law's sitting alone in the brown hotel room thinking, and it's a really good postcard. Or Gas is in the bifurcated blue garage space. Like he's got a masterful eye for art deck and detail. It's a pretty movie.
I mean, and
it's a good movie. I think it held up.
Creature feature stuff is always top notch. Yeah, I think we talked about this in the video.
Pretty good.
There's this feeling you get when you see other sci-fi that is almost like harder sci-fi, I guess, even though it's not like he's that soft of sci-fi. He seems oversimplified at times. He seems like he's just throwing pitches right down the middle.
Like,
in terms of like theme, it's like almost
Carpenter
always
seems like that too.
Yeah, long live the new Flesh. It's just like,
you know, I mentioned it, but They Live is so it's like Wake Up Sheep, literally the movie. It's just like very. In fact,
they do the same move in the Chinese restaurant after he kills the waiter. Everyone's like freaking out, and he goes because they're NPCs. That's what they're supposed to do. And he goes, "Pay no attention and enjoy your meal."
Yeah,
and then they all go back to.
Where he's like, "Oh, we had a little disagreement about the check," and everyone's like, "Oh, okay."
Which is so it feels almost like a hack, you know, but I think Cronenberg's superpower is that because he exists in that simplicity, he can actually deeply investigate some of the stuff.
Some very broad topics that are forever questions, like we mentioned.
Right.
Also got to say, I think the shooting itself, the very first one, like just the idea of a tech bro it feels way more real now than when this movie dropped. It's like we've seen more shootings like this since then, you know, of CEOs and stuff.
A lot of these dystopian movies from the 80s and 90s
are coming true for real, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been
just wait till we're Mad Max, baby. Witness me.
I will witness you. I promise you that. That might be all I have. Cell phones are called pink phones. It's just a little pink blob you put against your ear.
Telephone.
A cell phone, telephone. The idea that you take your Xbox to a veterinarian who does surgery on it to fix it is so cool to me.
Oh yeah, to Ian Holm.
Yeah.
To Bilbo, who's just all up in those guts. I love
Bilbo's got to cut up your Xbox.
Especially because, you know, he's like, well, it's because he was an alien.
Yeah.
You know? Like they're like,
branded
he's
for
the alien
life.
guy.
He's a sci-fi creep. Yeah.
He's a sci-fi creep now, which is perfect.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I'll say is that chewing gun bone scene did remind me of the fact that like my baby's food that he chews and spits out to me is grosser than his poop. Like to me, there is nothing grosser than regurgitated food, and Cronenberg knows that in a way that no other director does. He's like the Hayao Miyazaki of lovingly rendering the texture of already chewed and spit up food.
Chewed up food. Yeah. It's like
and it works, man.
Away, but what if it was all chewed up?
But what if
first?
a baby bird was about to fork it down? Fucking disgusting.
Well, that's fantastic. I think that's a good place to end our.
Let's do it. Thanks, Doc.
Thanks, Doc. I don't know. It's up to you if you want another one. We are going to change. Once Swaim's job has concluded, we're going to be going hard on small beans. I know
it has concluded, but I'm taking a couple weeks out.
Yeah, so we're going to be. I know we've been hinting at it for like a month and a half now, and we'll continue to expect in like a month and a half again. Some shakeup in terms of how we do pick the flick. Doc, feel free to bow out if you want, so other people can, access it. But there will be a change. We just have to figure out the back end on Patreon, and we'll make it more available to more of y'all and an easier system, just so you can help us choose the topics of these here podcasts. Anything else you want to say, my man?
Oh no, spores! Deadly spores.